Good afternoon, everyone. We continue in our study on the book of Numbers in chapter 18. Now, bear in mind that we have been covering a very important incident in the challenge to the priesthood of Aaron. Now, that challenge took place in chapter 16. Chapter 16, and you find Korach, right? Korach challenged Moses and Aaron with regards to the priesthood. And as it continued on from 16 through 17, you'd find that what God did to stop that rebellion, and Korah and his company were destroyed, and then the rest of them had a plague, and God leashed out or unleashed his wrath against the people, and thereby Aaron and sons lit the incense to appease God, and thereby stopped the plague. Now that is what we had read in 16 and 17. And now, carrying on in chapter 18 is with regards to God settling the issue once and for all. So, in verse 1, the Lord, and this would be Jehovah, he said this time is to Aharon. Remember, most of the time it's God with Moses. But now it is to settle an issue with regards to the priesthood, which is called the kahuna. It says, you and your sons. Now, always follow the what we call the pronoun, right? The pronoun. God spoke to Aaron. So you is Aaron, and your sons, and all of these will be the priests, right? They are the priests. Now, continuing on verse 1, it says, and your father's house with you shall bear the iniquity related to the sanctuary. You and your sons with you shall bear the iniquity associated with your priesthood. We need to just learn a couple of words here. First of all, shall bear, meaning they will be responsible. So God says they are the priests. Everything to do with the priesthood, this word here, priesthood. The word priesthood is the word kahuna. And it's important for us to know some of these words so that it'll help us have a better picture. So they shall be responsible for the iniquity. This word here, iniquity, is avon, right? And in this case, this is the crime or the sin or the iniquity related to the sanctuary. This is the mikdash, right? The mikdash. Now, at this point in time, because it is spoken to Aaron and sons, they are the priesthood. Priesthood means the work done by the priests. So, priest is a role, Aaron being the high priest, the sons being the priests, and the work that they do is called the priesthood, right? The kahuna. And so God says, you and your sons with you will bear the crime, the avon, everything to do with the kahuna. Everything they do, they bear themselves. What does that mean? It means that whatever they are responsible for, they are accountable and responsible for themselves. Nobody else will be able to take ownership of that crime or the avon that takes place. Now, this is very important for us to understand. God's house, again, I bring to your attention, God's house, God's rules, right? God's house, God's rules. His house, he can do whatever he wants, and these are his rules. Korah and gang has no part of this. They cannot demand anything to do with God's house. And so God has made it clear this is Aaron and sons. Verse 2. Also, bring with you your brethren of the tribe of Levi, the tribe of your father, that they may be joined with you and serve you while you and your sons are with you before the tabernacle of witness. This would be the Ohel of Moed, right? This would be the Ohel of Moed, right? Moed. And this is about the reminder of who God is, what God has said, and what God has testified. And this is their job. Now, understand how it works is that you have the Aaron and sons. They are to do with the tabernacle. And then you have the Levites to support them. So that is how it works, right? God's house is split into different roles. And the ones that is to deal with God's rules and rituals is Aaron and sons, and that's why they are the priests, right? And so this is how we have to be very clear of what is happening. Verse 3. Who is they? They will be your brethren, the tribe of Levi, right? Now, the tribe of your father, why? Because Aaron is also of the Levites. Now, understand, Aaron, Miriam, and Moses, they are from the tribe of Levites. Aaron and sons are specially designated, not Korah and company, Aaron and sons. Aharon and his sons are the priests. They are to be in charge of the kahuna, the priesthood. The tribe of Levi shall attend to your needs and all the needs of the tabernacle, meaning everything else to support the work of the tabernacle is done by the Levites. But they shall not come near the articles of the sanctuary and the altar, lest they die, they and you also. Now, what does that mean? You see, the articles of the sanctuary is what's inside, right? What's inside. And then the altar is on the outside. If you had a chance to read the book of Leviticus, we always call something with reference to the Levitical Laws, right? The laws and that's given, or the rules given by God of what the children of Israel should do in making offerings for atonement and for various things that has to be done in the tabernacle. Now, inside the tabernacle, that it would have to be done by the priests. For example, at the altar, offering the sacrifice cannot be done by anyone else. It has to be done by the priests. Inside the sanctuary, nobody can go in, not even the Levites, and that would be the priests. Now, outside in the courtyard, yes, the Levites are to take care of everything and to help out, to pack, unpack in the movement. But there is a very strict rule. If you breach the rule, look at the penalty. In verse 3, the penalty is death. Both the one who infringe and the one who is responsible, Why? Because the charge has been given to the priesthood to make very sure that all these rules are kept in strict order. Now, if you take one step back and think about it, if you were the priests, if you were Aaron and the sons, won't you be extremely careful that these things cannot be trifled with because it's death? If you do it right, things will be fine. But if you do it wrong, it is death. It will be the end. There is no second chance in this because God's environment, the house that God has put in place, has to be strictly observed, which tells us what? It tells us that God is not a casual God. We have this phrase, simply hantam, that, simply do things. Well, in God's house, there is no such thing called simply do. Just like when you enter into the palace, right? In London, you enter into Buckingham Palace, you can't simply do anything. The Queen's palace or the Queen's house, the Queen's rules. Today, if we go to Agong's palace, well, it's the Agong's place, Agong's rules. We have to follow. There is no such thing called simply do. We can do anything there. And so this is the concept, which we are not very familiar because we don't have this kind of a culture and environment. But in the book of Numbers, it is clearly enumerated that Aaron and the priests must make sure all the rules are observed, if not, they die. Verse 4, they shall be joined with you. Who is they? They will be the Levites. They will attend to the needs of the tabernacle of the meeting for all the work of the tabernacle, the cleaning, the washing, the carrying. But an outsider, now this is an important word, an outsider shall not come near to you. What is an outsider? Now, this word is zur, right? A zur. Simply put, anyone not, right? Not designated. I think that would be an easier way to understand. It could be anyone from any tribe, as long as you're not a Levite and you're not a priest. You are a stranger in this ritual. Now, in a broader sense, obviously, in the nation of Israel, a Zur will be one who is a non-Israelite. But in this tabernacle setting, God's house, anyone who's not supposed to be there is an outsider. It says, you shall attend to the duties of the sanctuary and the duties of the altar. And who is you? Verse 5, the word you would be Aaron and sons, right? Aaron and sons. You all shall attend to the duties of the sanctuary and the duties of the altar. Remember, sacrifices on the altar cannot be manhandled by anyone except the priests. That there may be no more wrath. Now, this is an important element. No more wrath on the children of Israel. Now, what is this wrath? This is God's anger, right? This is God's anger. I refer you to Numbers chapter 16. Let me write it here. Numbers chapter 16, verse 46. This was right at the end of the destruction of Korah and his company. And God's wrath ran into the whole camp who sided with Korah. And so in verse 46, let me just read to you. And Moses said to Aaron, take a censer and put fire in it from the altar, and put incense on it, and then take it quickly to the congregation and make atonement for them to appease God's anger. And then look at this verse. For wrath has gone out from the Lord, the plague has begun. This is with reference to that wrath, that God was so angry with them that this work of the altar and the sanctuary cannot be touched by anyone except Aaron and son. So if anybody does that, the wrath of God will be poured out again. Verse 6, behold, I myself, this is a very interesting thing. This is an emphasis. I am the one who has taken your brethren, the Levites, from among the children of Israel, among the 12 tribes, and they are a gift to you. What is a gift? A present. God gave the Levites as a present to Aaron and sons, given by the Lord. This is a special offering, a special token given by Jehovah, so nobody can complain. What is the purpose? To do the work of the tabernacle of the meeting. Now, the work of the tabernacle of the meeting is not the rituals. Understand that. This is literally the heavy lifting, the laborious work that is required in the attendance of the tabernacle of the meeting. And so God says, therefore, you and your sons, Aaron and your sons with you, shall attend to your kahuna for everything the altar and behind the veil, and you shall serve. In verse 7, it says, and you shall serve and you shall do your work. Now, this is do your work. This work and this work is actually the same, except that in English we can't see. This has to be the work of the tabernacle of the meeting, the heavy lifting. This is the work that is with regards to the altar and whatever is behind the veil, which is the Ark of the Covenant. And so inside the sanctuary is where the kahuna work is supposed to be. So I give to your kahuna as a gift for service. Now, this is interesting. I give to your priesthood. And this word is really a gift, right? Really a gift. So that you can discharge your, so that you can dedicate to discharge your work, so that they don't have to care for the lifting, the cleaning, the carrying, and all the things. But the Levites will do that. And again, another reminder, the outsider who comes near shall be put to death. No one, out apart from the Levites, they know the role, and Aaron and sons, they know the role, shall come into the tabernacle of meeting. Verse 8. And the Lord spoke to Aaron. That's continuing on in another segment. Here, I myself have also given you charge of my heave offering. And heave offering, how should we say? The heave offering. Heave offering is an offering of grain, and this is usually a wave offering. right? And it's for grain, or money of some sort, right? All the holy gifts of the children of Israel, uh, and this supposed to be holy gifts are the ones that is special, right? The special gifts of the children of Israel that they bring to the tabernacle. I have given them as a portion to you. The word portion here would be, well, allocation, right? Allocation to you and your sons as an ordinance forever. This is to be done as a rule, right? To all Aaron and sons, all the wave offerings. And then this shall be yours of the most holy thing reserved from the fire. Because when they offer the things that is left aside, that is not burnt all, every offering of theirs, every grain offering, sin offering, trespass offering. Now I refer you to Leviticus chapters 1 to 7. Right? Please go back and read that. Which they render to me shall be most holy for you and your sons. Now, I want to point your attention to specifically you and your sons. And this would be the male children, right? It's not talking about the female children, the male children. In a most holy place, you shall eat it. Every male shall eat it. It shall be special to you. So this is what God has set apart for all the offerings that is given, where it is a fire offering, a burnt offering type. Then they are to take the balance of it and they shall eat it. It's as a meal, right? As a meal. This also is yours. The heave offering of their gift with all the wave offerings of the children of Israel, I have given them to you and your sons and your daughters with you. Now we have an additional explanation. So we have in verse 11, it tells them of Aaron, all right? So Aaron, sons and daughters. This is the female, and this is the male. We're not talking about Levites. We're talking about Aaron and sons and Aaron and daughters. And of course, the priesthood and all the priests of the sons and daughters. They are to have all these as their gift, the wave offerings, right? These are not burnt as an ordinance forever. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. Now, please take note of this word clean. This would be what we would call ritually clean, right? Ritually clean. Now, also understand there are times when a woman is not ritually clean. There are times when a man is not ritually clean. So this is something that we all have to read from the book of Leviticus. But as long as they are ritually clean, they can eat of these offerings. All the best of the oil. Verse 2. We would say that this would be the choicest, the best part of the oil. All the best of the new wine and grain. And it gives you this whole word. The word best is the fattest. The literal rendition is the fattest. Right? The fat part would be the choice part. So how do you get a fat part of the new wine and grain? It gives us the connotation, the best, the one that you select out of all of it, the best part of it. They are first fruits which they offer to the Lord. I have given them to you. Whatever first ripe fruit is in their land, they will bring to the Lord, shall be yours. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. Now, again, this would be the sons and daughters, right? The sons and daughters. And so this has to do with the first fruits. And these are things, it is assumed that the people will know when they harvest the first of the crops, they will bring to offer to God as an offering of thanksgiving to God. And God says, well, I have given them to you. And the priest is the one that will inherit this. Verse 14. Everyone devoted in Israel shall be yours. Every devoted thing. The word devoted is haram. Haram is something that is dedicated, right? Dedicated to God. Everything that's dedicated to God shall be yours. Now, this is a very broad application. What is devoted, right? What is dedicated to God? So understand this. Verse 15 is the first of them. Everything that first opens the womb of all flesh, they bring to the Lord, whether man or beast, shall be yours. Every firstborn of man and beast, right? And this would be the animals as well. Now we read this in Exodus chapter 12 and 13. And at that point in time, God says, the firstborn is mine. And it is so. The firstborn is mine. But in Numbers chapter 3, when we had started the book of Numbers, we were then told that God had decided to allow the families to redeem the firstborn. And then God exchanged that firstborn with the tribe of Levi or Levite. And in that exchange, God then decided that the tribe of Levi will not inherit the land. And they will serve God, as we have read in the first so many verses today. But the firstborn is still God's. And so it says, nevertheless, the firstborn of man, you shall surely redeem, that the family can pay a price and take him back into the family. And the firstborn of unclean animals, God doesn't want them because they can't be used for sacrifices, you shall redeem. So the people can redeem back. Now, this is unclean animals. These are animals that cannot be used. Cannot be used for rituals. Now, understand this. In context, the firstborn of unclean animals you shall redeem is to say that they are clean to eat, but they are not clean for sacrifice. Never for a moment shall we even imagine that the Israelites may be rearing, say, pigs. And then the pig had a piglet, the firstborn is offered to God. That's not the case, right? These are animals, and we have read that earlier on in the book of Deuteronomy that you can eat of these so-called unclean animals because they are not used for ritual, but they are clean to be eaten. So in this context, it's the same. You have animals that is not used for rituals, like the deer, for example. You're not offering deer in a sacrifice. You offer only occasionally the cow, the ox, the goat, the male goat, and the male sheep, and not the female, right? And not an antelope, not a deer. And so what do you do? Well, they are still firstborn. And so God says, redeem them, pay for them, and take them back. And those redeemed of the devoted things you shall redeem when 1 month old. So there is a ritual rule. According to your valuation, which is 5 shekels of silver, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerah. And so there is a weight. Understand the shekel, is a weight. This is a dry weight, and this is a money weight. There's a shekel of normal commerce, but this is the shekel of the sanctuary, right? The shekel of sanctuary is actually shekel of holiness. The shekel of holiness. It is a special shekel of a particular weight, 20 gerah, that they use to redeem all of these dedicated to God, the firstborn, right? The firstborn. Verse 17. You can see here, as we continue reading, but the firstborn of a cow, the firstborn of a sheep, firstborn of a goat, you shall not redeem, because they are holy. They are special. Now, why is it special? Because you can use it for offering. And so you shall sprinkle their blood on the altar and burn their fat as an offering made by fire for a sweet aroma to the Lord. Now, this is important. Just a repeat, right? Their fat made by fire as a sweet aroma to the Lord. This is the purpose of the incense. And so God told them in the book of Leviticus, all the fat in an offering belongs to God. None of the none of the priests shall eat it. They must all be burned, because that is the best part. And God says, I want the best part. And so it is burned by fire as a sweet smell to the Lord. And their flesh is yours, just as the wave breast and the right thigh are yours. These are parts of the body that in some of the offerings, you wave it as a wave offering. And so the Aaron and his sons would be the ones that will eat the rest of the animal, but the fat belongs to God. Remember, fat means what? The best, right? Fat means the best. All the heave offering of the holy things which the children of Israel offer to the Lord, I have given to you and your sons and your daughters with you as an ordinance forever. Now, this one is a heave offering. What is different? The heave offering is not burnt. And so the male and the female will be able to consume it. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord with you and your descendants with you. Now, in verse 19, it is important for us to understand that this is a covenant of salt to tell that this is an everlasting covenant, because salt is supposed to last forever, right? And this is what it means, that is a covenant of salt forever, as a imagery that is like salt. It will last a long time. Remember, the word forever in verse 19 is olam, right? And as the word goes, it's for a long, long time. Then God said to Aaron, you shall have no inheritance in their land. Whose land? Who is there? Who is there? The children of Israel. Nor shall you have any portion among them. You cannot own any small piece. God says, you want to own anything? I am your portion and your inheritance among the children of Israel. In fact, isn't it true that God is your better inheritance? And so, as an inheritance among the children of Israel, the best part is to Aaron and sons. Now, obviously, from a material viewpoint, it's like, why? I can't have a piece of land, but why then is that considered the best of it? Because the best things that they have cultivated, the first fruits that comes before anybody eats anything, is given to God and then is given to Aaron and sons. All the best things that is offered to God. Remember, when we were looking at the offerings to God, God doesn't want any crippled animal or a blind cow. It has to be unblemished, the best of them all. And as is being offered, the rest that is not burnt is given to Aaron and sons. So basically, everything that belongs to God, that's offered to God, is now belonging to Aaron and sons. So they actually, if you think about it, they have the best portion. The land is, by the way, you've got to work at it. But in Aaron and sons, it's brought to them as a result of God's blessing upon the children of Israel. Verse 21 tells us, behold, I have given the children of Levi all the tithes in Israel as an inheritance in return for the work they perform, the work of the tabernacle of meeting. This word here, maaser, means all the 10th part, right? 10th part. That's what it means. The children of Levi has the 10th part. Now, at this point in time, we have now got to make a big distinction. It is true, under the Levites, right? Levi had sons, and the sons had sons and children. But more importantly, here we have Aaron and sons. The rest of them are also sons, right? And they're all Levites. So God actually made a distinction. All these are Levites. And Aaron and son is a special of the Levites called priests. Also Levites. So don't get me wrong, but in context of this chapter, we must make sure we see the distinction of the two. Hereafter, the children of Israel shall not come near the tabernacle of the meeting, lest they bear sin and die. They are not supposed to break God's rules, because when you break God's rules, it is a death penalty. Now you may think, wow, isn't that serious? Yes, it is serious. God's house, again, God's rules. This is God's game, right? This is God's process. No one can say, oh, God, I don't like this one. Everything that God does is fair. And so God says, all the 10th in Israel is given to the children of Levi, because they are working. They are working in the tabernacle of meeting. So this is in return. What do you mean in return? In exchange. And so the principle here is this. God doesn't ask the Levites to set them aside to do work for free. There is no concept of fresh air and sunshine and God bless you. And so God made it very clear in his fairness that when he took the tribe of Levi out of the land inheritance, the work that they do has to be paid for. And who pays them? God is paying for that. How is God paying for the Levites? God is paying the Levites by blessing the children of Israel. And so, in the work of their hands on the agriculture and the animals, and they bring a tenth of that to the tabernacle for the Levites. That is God's payment to the Levites, right? So you can see God gives dignity to the Levites. They are not given handouts. Like this is not the Levites are not begging. They have dignity, right? God is very concerned about dignity. It is not, oh, they serve in the tabernacle, but the children of Israel said, oh, how are they going to eat? Oh, let's pity them, and we give them pity meals, right? So here's some grain and here's some meat. That's not the case. God says you have to give me 1/10. Every time you count to 10, the 10th part is given to God, and that 10th part is for the Levites in exchange for the work. And God cares for the Levites' dignity. God is giving them what belongs to God. But the Levites shall perform the work of the tabernacle of meeting, and they shall bear their own crimes. What crimes? Whatever they are supposed to do, they are supposed to do, and not let anybody else touch it. And it's a statute forever throughout your generations that among the children of Israel, they shall have no inheritance. And this one is about the land. For the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer up as a heave offering to the Lord, because the tithes are given to God, I, God, have given to the Levites as their inheritance. Therefore, I have said to them, among the children of Israel, they shall have no inheritance, but their inheritance is of God. What does that mean? See, if the 12 tribes of Israel has 12 portions of land, and they all have great harvest, and a tenth of that is given to the Levites, a tenth of the animals born are also given to the Levites. If you do the math properly, the Levites actually get more than the 12 tribes of Israel with land, and they don't have to work for it. Their work in exchange is to serve God. And so God takes care of the Levites and give them more, much more. You see, 1/10 of every tribe's work is given to the Levites. The Levites is one of the 12 tribes. It should be by right, isn't it? 1/12. Why 1/10? Because 1/10 is their common way of giving back a reward. And in so doing, the Levites are rewarded in exchange for their work done, and God gives them as a reward. That's God's rules. No land, but they get to enjoy the fruits of the land more than everybody else. In verse 25, we have a different conversation. It is the Lord speaking to Moses. Now, it is no longer to Aaron. So Aaron and sons is from verses 1 to 24 and describing what God has given to them. God is trying to tell Aaron and sons, yes, I have chosen you. You have no inheritance. I have made it plain and clear. Korah and company and nobody else can ever come near to the tabernacle. It is all yours, Aaron and sons. The Levites is also yours, that I have set them apart to work with you, given to you to help you do your work. And so all the firstborn are given back to their families, redeemed. So all of this is set. And now, since you don't farm and you don't own land, so what do? They will give the 10th of their produce to God, the best of their 10th, by the way, identified before harvest. And then that's given to the Levites. Can you imagine the best of everything? Because it's given to God, it has to be the best. And since it's God says, and now I'm going to give it to you, the Levites have the best of everything. Now Moses is charged. Speak thus to the Levites, not Aaron to the Levites. Why? Because the Levites are serving Aaron and sons, now it would be a conflict of interest if Aaron and sons were to tell them to do certain things that might compromise that relationship. All right. And so Moses now discharges this rule and say to them, when you take from the children of Israel the tithes, which I have given you from them as your inheritance, then you shall offer up a heave offering of it to the Lord, a 10th of the 10th. This is an interesting thing. It is to tell the Levites they must be grateful as well. The 10th is the tithe. So it is a tithe of the tithe or a 10th of the 10th. And your heave offering shall be reckoned to you as though it was the grain of the threshing floor and as the fullness of the wine press. They are to offer because they have received it from the children of Israel, from everything that they've done with the grapes. They have crushed it, they have grown their crops, they have harvested it, and it's given to God. Now they are now taking it or inheriting it as a gift from God. And God says, you take a 10th of that, right? A 10th of that, and you offer it as a heave offering, as if you also had attended to the crops. And then God says, thus you shall also offer a heave offering to the Lord from all your tithes you receive from the children of Israel, and you shall give the heave offering from it to Aaron, the priest. Ha! So Aaron as the high priest, right? The high priest gets a 10th of everything the Levites obtain. And so who would be having the inheritance of God? Aaron. The Levites got the best portion, and the best portion of the Levites goes to Aaron. Of all your gifts, you offer every heave offering due to the Lord from all the best of them. This verse 29, again, when it says the best of them, remember what best means? The fattest, the choicest of them, the consecrated part of them. Therefore, you shall say to them, when you have lifted the best of it, the rest shall be accounted to the Levites as the produce of the threshing floor and as the produce of the wine press. This is a very interesting aspect, isn't it? The first fruits and the best of the land, the firstborn, is brought to God, offered as a heave offering, as a thanksgiving offering, and the Levites receive it from God as a gift from God. And the gift that is from God, God tells the Levites through Moses, not for Aaron. Then it would be very strange that Aaron says, now all of you give me a 10th. It has to come from another mouth, from God to Moses, and then telling the Levites, now you have received the tithes, the 10th that is given to God. You have received them all. From here, take a 10th of it, the best of the 10th, and set it apart. Set it apart and give it to Aaron. That's it. In verse 31, it says, you may eat of it in any place, you and your household. This is different from the sacrifice, isn't it? The wave offering from the sacrifice, you have to eat it when you're clean. And so this one here, where it is from the tithe, which is in the form of a heave offering, you can eat anywhere, you and your household. Who is the household? Your sons and daughters. For it is, in verse 31, the reward for your work for the tabernacle of the meeting. The reward means the exchange. God says, I am paying you for your efforts and for your work done. And so you're not working for free. And that the children of Israel is going to take pity on you and give you when they like. This one really means that the Levites are really taken care of because God has given a rule that they are to make offering to God. They are also to give a tenth of their produce to God. And in turn, that 1/10 is given to the Levites. And you shall bear no sin because of it, because you have lifted up the best of it. What do you mean, no sin? No offense. Right? No offense. Because you have lifted the best of it, the choices. Why? Because some may think, why? They took the best of it. Aren't they selfish? No, not at all. They are dedicated to God to do what God tells them in the tabernacle. And if they do it wrong, they'll be killed. And in return for this kind of an obligation of work done, God gives them the best salary, so to speak, right? The best salary. And so the final verse says this, but you shall not profane the holy gifts of the children of Israel, lest you die. Now let's break this word, profane. What do you mean, profane? Profane means to desecrate. Profane means to treat as common, or to dishonor, right? To dishonor. And so the whole idea here is you treat as if it was not holy or special. And so what is the attitude of God towards the tithe? They are holy gifts. They are special gifts because it follows the rules that God gave them. You count to 10, the 10th is given. The best of the 10th is what God is wanting to give to Aaron and sons. But they have everything, right? They have everything. And when they have the best from the children of Israel, they are to remember that the best of things were given to God and now passed to them. They cannot treat this as common. They cannot dishonor the genuine gift of the children of Israel. It's from their heart, honoring God. It is special. It is holy. So do not treat as unholy. That's what it means. You shall not profane. Don't desecrate it. They have given as a token of honor, of respect, of genuine thanksgiving and gratitude to God. And when the Levites take possession of it, continue to value that, right? Continue to value the tithe. And so in this chapter, we have been told how God sets apart Aaron and sons, sets apart the Levites, how they are paid with dignity. And in turn, without having an inheritance of the land, they actually had more from the produce of the land. But God warned them, do not desecrate, do not treat these gifts from the children of Israel as nothing. They are the best offered to God, and the Levites, are having it in turn. And so the Levites and Aaron is literally having God as their portion. That is their inheritance. So you can see that it is so precious. And the Levites and Aaron and sons are not to treat it as tidak apa. And with this, we can see how important the things that is dedicated to God to be treated as such, regardless of how many hands it has changed. And with this, we come to the end of our session today.